Telly trouble. It was a nice sunny morning in Pontypandy. Fireman Sam was having breakfast when Sarah and James arrived. "Morning, Uncle Sam," said James. "Morning, my lovelies," replied Sam. "What are you up to today?" "Oh, can we come and play?" asked James. "Afraid I'm just going on shift at the station," said Sam. "Perhaps you can come and play later." He took out some money and handed it to them. "Here's a treat for you. You go and buy yourself something at Bella's." "Brill," said James. "I'm going to buy a nice fizzy lemonade." "Me too. Thanks, Uncle Sam," said Sarah as they ran off. Later at the fire station, it was a special day for one member of Pontypandy Fire Service. Inside, Station Officer Steele was admiring himself in the mirror as he clipped his moustache. "Yes, well, even if I say so myself, I'm a credit to the fire service," said Steele to himself as he snipped away. "Appearance is all important in public relations." Fireman Sam and Elvis Cridlington were passing Steele's office when they heard him muttering away to himself. He's gone crackers, man," said Elvis in amazement. Sam whispered, "Quiet, Elvis. I wonder what he's up to." As they listened by the door, Steele went on. "And you mustn't play with matches at all. No. Needs to be stronger than that. Right. And at no time play with matches." Sam knocked on the door. A startled Steele quickly put the mirror and scissors down. "Oh, yes. Fireman Sam, yes, Fireman Cridlington," stammered Steele. Then, regaining his composure, he barked, "Yes? Yep. Well, what can I do for you?" Sam said gingerly, "All right, are you, sir?" Elvis said, "Yeah, well, it's old age, I suppose." Steele, realizing he'd been caught talking to himself, explained, I was just practicing for my appearance on television. I'm going to be on Today Wales." "Oh, you're going to be a TV superstar, are you, sir?" Cridlington asked excitedly. Sam added, "Oh, that's very impressive, sir. Perhaps I'd better have your autograph now before you become famous." Steele's chest rose as he replied proudly, "Well, of course you can." Then Steele realized Sam was smirking and said, but you'll have to wait till later. Must dash to the studio. Can't be late for rehearsal." "Shame we won't be able to see you on TV, sir," said Sam. "Don't worry, you will," said Steele triumphantly. "I brought you my portable TV from home." Sam looked at the portable TV on the mess table and said, a little sarcastically, "Well, it's very kind of you, sir." A little later in Bella's cafe, Sarah and James were sat drinking lemonade. Bella was setting up a slightly old-fashioned TV in the corner of the cafe. "Oh, do you want a hand, Bella?" asked Sarah in between sips. "You can dust it if you like." Sarah began dusting briskly. "Not so hard, you might wear the glass out," chuckled Bella. "We want to see Station Officer Steele clearly," said Sarah. "I hope the telly works now," said Bella as she plugged it into the socket. "All my customers, they are coming to see him, you know." Naughty Norman Price was lurking outside the cafe. As he peered through the window, he chuckled. "Oh, the Sarah and James, I'll play a joke on them." Inside, Bella and the children heard the doorbell ring. Bella said, "It's funny. The door opens, but there's no one there." Nobody had noticed that Norman had sneaked in behind the counter. "Oh, it must have been the wind." James and Sarah went back to sipping their lemonade, when a few minutes later, they heard Bella scream, Oh, mamma mia! Che cosa? It's a mouse!" James and Sarah looked around to see Bella standing on a chair and pointing to the leg of the chair where a mouse was scurrying about. "Oh, a mouse!" cried Sarah as she backed away. Scaredy cats, chuckled James as he made for the mouse. "I no like the mouse. Catch him. Catch it!" cried Bella frantically. "Don't worry, Bella," said James as he bent down and picked up the mouse by the tail. "It's not a real one." Bella saw that it had wheels and said, "It's a clockwork." Everybody burst out laughing, even Bella. "I always wanted a clockwork mouse," said James. "Brill," said Sarah. Norman's head appeared from behind the counter. Hey, that's mine. Here, you give him back." "I should have known it was something to do with you, Norman Price," said Bella as she bent closer to Norman, who began shuffling nervously. Just then the doorbell rang, and in came Norman's mother, Dilys Price.
Ah, there's my lovely boy.
"Hiya, ma'am," said relieved Norman as he dashed to her side.
Oh, I see you got the telly out ready, Bella. Works, does it?
Sniffed Dilys.
Of course he works. Look.
Bella proudly switched it on.
Oh, is it snowing?
Said Bella, as a rather spotty picture appeared. Dilys folded her arms and said,
No wonder. It's probably Italian. Il televisione è Japanese,
replied Bella as she thumped the top of the set. Meanwhile, at the fire station, Sam was in the engine house making sure Jupiter the fire engine was in full working order. "Right then, Jupiter, my lovely, more air?" asked Sam as he checked the tyre pressure. Just then, Elvis appeared with a bucket.
Oh, I'll just clean the station windows,
he said. "Right-o," replied Sam, who was about to top the engine up with oil, when the phone rang next door. While Sam answered the phone, Elvis went to the tap to fill the bucket.
Oh, come on,
he moaned as he struggled to turn it on.
Oh, it's stuck. Oh, I know. Hammer.
Elvis picked up a hammer and gave the tap an almighty wallop.
Oh!
cried Elvis as the tap came off and a jet of water from the pipe sprayed all over him.
Oh!
Spluttered Elvis, eventually jamming his finger down the pipe to stop the flow. Meanwhile, in Station Officer Steele's office, Sam was on the phone to Trevor Evans, the bus driver. "Hello, Sam," said Trevor. "I've broken down." "What's the problem?" asked Sam. "The gears won't work." "What about the transmission?" replied Sam. "What's that?" asked Trevor. "Well, it's the thing that works the gears," said Sam patiently. Elvis, meanwhile, still had his finger stuck in the pipe, and he stretched as far as he could to tap the window.
Sam,
he called. But Sam was still talking to Trevor. "Well, you better get a move on, Trevor. You don't want to miss the show at Bella's." Elvis was tapping even more frequently on the window.
Help, Sam.
"Well, time I made a move too," said Sam to Trevor. "I think Elvis could do with a bit of help." Sam hung up and went to the door. "All right, Elvis. What's the trouble?" Elvis stammered.
The tap, you see. The tap wouldn't work, so I hit it."
Elvis gestured with his hand to explain to Sam, and in doing so, he took his finger out of the pipe.
"Ah!"
they cried as they both got a soaking. Sam managed to jam the tap back on the pipe.
I only give it a little tap with the hammer,"
spluttered Elvis as they both dripped water onto the station floor. "Indeed," said Sam crossly. "Well, now you can just give the floor a little rub with your mop." Sam squelched his way back to Jupiter, leaving little puddles as he went. Meanwhile, inside Bella's cafe, Bella, Sarah, James and Norman were gathered around the TV set. "It's still snowy," said James.
"What about the aerial?"
suggested Sarah.
"Good idea," replied Bella. "Make yourself useful, Norman," said Bella,
as she slapped the aerial into his hand.
"Move back a little," said Bella.
As Norman moved back, she began twiddling the knobs.
"It's not much better," said Sarah.
"More left, called Bella to Norman, who shuffled around the cafe following instructions.
No, to the right. A bit left, up a bit, no, almost,
Norman was moving further and further away.
That's it. Don't move.
The twins clapped as a perfect picture appeared on the screen.
Bravo, Norman, bravo, Norman. Norman?
Everybody looked around. Norman was nowhere to be seen. Trevor Evans, meanwhile, had fixed his bus and was just coming in to park outside Bella's cafe. "I should just be in time for Station Officer Steele's spot," he thought as he climbed down. Trevor burst out laughing as he saw a forlorn Norman standing outside the door of the cafe holding the aerial. "What's the matter, Norman?" laughed Trevor. "You lost a TV?" Norman frowned. He didn't see the funny side of it at all. Just then, Bella appeared in the doorway.
"Oh, so that's where you are," she chuckled. "I think you better come in case it rains."
Soon, inside the cafe, Trevor got a clear picture on the TV, just in time for Station Officer Steele's program. Everybody sat down to watch. The presenter appeared and said, Now, to tell us further about the hazards of fire and its prevention, please welcome Station Officer Steele of the Pontypandy Fire Service. Station Officer Steele appeared on the screen, and everybody in the cafe applauded.
There he is,
Squealed Sarah.
Oh, bellissimo! Station Officer Steele is a star.
The presenter asked, Now, what are the main causes of fire, Station Officer? Well, you see, you just can't be too careful. Fires can start anywhere at any time, replied Steele rather pompously. Well, take your average television set, for instance. Just as he said that, Bella's TV started to crackle.
Oh, my! Oh, what's a-going wrong now?
Cried Bella. It crackled even louder until finally exploded with a loud bang.
Mamma mia! Shrieked Bella. It's on fire! Oh,
everybody leapt for cover.
Well, I never,
clucked Dilys from under the table.
Oh, I thought it was too foreign to work properly.
Meanwhile, at the fire station, Sam and Elvis had changed into dry clothing just in time for the show. They pulled up their chairs in front of the TV.
Fancy our station officer been on TV,
said Elvis, as they switched on. Shh, said Sam, as Steele appeared on the screen, saying, And of course, we get called out for lots of different reasons. Oh, good. We haven't missed him, said Sam. Chimney fires, people playing with matches, Steele went on. Exploding electrical equipment. But be sure when that alarm goes off, Pontypandy's fire service springs into action immediately. Just at that moment, the station alarm bell went off. Sam and Elvis jumped out of their chairs.
Oh, quite right there, sir,
Elvis shouted back at the screen as they dashed away. Sam ran to the telex, which was chattering out a message. He ripped the paper from the machine.
Great fires of London, said Sam. There was an explosion at Bella's. Oh, we better get a move on, replied Elvis.
Sam leapt into the cab of the fire engine while Elvis opened the station doors. As soon as Elvis was in the cab, they roared away, sirens wailing and the lights flashing.
Oh, pity we missed Station Officer Steele's performance after all, said Elvis.
Oh, this is far more important, replied Sam. The safety of Pontypandy comes first. Inside Bella's, meanwhile, everybody was gingerly peering at the TV screen, which had a gaping hole in it where smoke poured out. Bella edged a little closer, until it crackled again, making her jump back in alarm.
Oh, Mamma mia! She cried. It's glowing inside.
You better keep back, Bella, said Trevor. The fire service will handle it.
Oh, a fine kettle of fish, sniffed Dilys. Fancy missing Station Officer Steele's performance.
Oh, I can hear the fire engine, called Sarah. Jupiter raced into the high street and Sam pulled her over to the curb alongside Bella's. Sam and Elvis leapt out of the cab, lifted the shutters and grabbed a fire extinguisher each. Right, jump to it, Elvis, commanded Sam as they dashed into the cafe. Stand back, everybody, called Sam as he headed for the smouldering TV. Leave this to the fire service.
Oh, my word,
cried Dilys as she ducked behind the counter. Everybody took cover behind tables and chairs. Norman made for the sweet trolley.
Oh, I better protect these cream cakes in case anything else happens, said Norman thoughtfully.
Sam called to Elvis. Turn off the power at the mains, Elvis. Elvis ran through the doorway at the back of the cafe. Power off, he called to Sam. Keep well back, Sam called to everybody as he began to spray the TV with foam. Soon, it looked like a giant ice cream. That's it, cried Sam. Fire's out.
Well done, Uncle Sam, cried Sarah.
Brill, said James. There you are, Bella, said Sam. The danger's over.
Oh, grazie, Sam,
replied a relieved Bella. Everybody came out from under the tables.
Should have had a Welsh Telly,
clucked Dilys.
Much more reliable. I think it's time for a nice cup,
said Bella, making for the kitchen.
I think it's time for a nice dollop of cream cake,
muttered Norman, as he scooped a fingerful from a huge creamy sponge.
Norman!
Screeched Dilys. Oh, said Norman, jumping with fright.
Sorry, ma'am, he stuttered. Lovely boy, really.
Whatever you say, Dilys, said Trevor, as he rolled his eyes to the heavens. Later, at the fire station, Sam and Elvis were about to have dinner. What's it today, Elvis? Elvis brought a saucepan from the cooker.
It's a pasta, Sam,
said Elvis as he turned it upside down. It was stuck solid. That pasta's past its best, said Sam dryly. I think I'll get a sandwich on the way home. It's safer. Just then, Station Officer Steele arrived, looking very proud of himself. Coughing loudly for attention, he said, "Well, I'm back." "Oh, hello, sir," replied Sam. "Well, did you enjoy my performance, Fireman Sam?" Yes, sir. It was, marvellous, sir." Sam didn't think Steele would be very happy if he knew that nobody had seen him on TV. "Well, one does what one can, you know. At least my little talk has helped to prevent a few fires in Pontypandy, what?" "Caused a few more, like," muttered Sam under his breath. "What was that, Sam?" asked Steele. Oh, nothing, sir," coughed Sam. Steele then brought his hands from behind his back and produced a set of photographs. Would anyone, care for a signed photo?" he asked proudly. Later at home, Sam was pottering about when Sarah and James arrived to play. "Hi, kids," said Sam. "Hello, Uncle Sam," they replied. "Oh, there's a smashing thriller on telly tonight. Can we watch it?" asked James. No, I want to watch the cartoons," argued Sarah. "Oh, I've had quite enough of television for one day," said Sam. "Well, what shall we do then?" asked Sarah. "I know," chuckled Sam. "We'll go to the cinema instead."
He's always on the scene, Fireman Sam, and his engine's bright and clean. Fireman Sam, you cannot ignore. Sam is the hero next door. When he hears the fire bell chime, Fireman Sam is there on time. Putting on his coat and hat in less than 7 seconds flat. He's always on the scene, Fireman Sam, and his engine's bright and clean. Fireman Sam, you cannot ignore. Sam is the hero next door.
Lost Cat. Trevor Evans, the bus driver, pulled up at Mrs. Price's grocer's shop. As he climbed down from the cab, he remarked, "Ah, what a lovely peaceful day." Just as he said it, a loud crash came from inside the shop, followed by Dilys Price's screeching voice.
"You wait till I catch you, Norman Price."
With that, Norman dashed out of the shop, bumping into Trevor as he sped past. "Hey, my mind, how you go, lad?" scolded Trevor. Dilys appeared in the doorway and shouted after Norman.
"Come back here and clean up this mess. There's sherbet everywhere."
"Morning, Dilys," said Trevor.
"Oh, morning, Trevor. How are you, my lovely?"
replied Dilys as she patted her curlers. "More to the point, how are you?" asked Trevor. "Having a spot of trouble?"
No, replied Dilys. "Well, trying to help me was, see, putting the sherbet lemons on the top shelf. Oh, good boy he is, my Norman."
"Yes, I suppose," said Trevor, rather doubtfully. "Any deliveries this morning, my darling?"
"Only these tins,"
replied Dilys as she went back into the shop.
"They're for Pontypandy Fire Station."
Trevor picked them up and said, "Red paint? I know what these'll be for."
"Careful not to watch your back now,"
said Dilys cautiously. Just as Trevor was leaving the shop, struggling with the paint pots, Fireman Sam appeared from around the corner. "Morning, Trevor," called Sam. "Need a hand?" "Well," puffed Trevor, "if you can just open the back doors of the bus." Dilys, who found Trevor rather attractive, cooed,
"Oh, Trevor, you're so strong."
Sam's eyes rolled to the heavens as he opened the back doors of the bus. "Thanks, Sam," said Trevor as he loaded the tins onto the bus. "They're for you anyway." "For me?" asked Sam. "Well, for this fire station," replied Trevor. "They're tins of red paint. Oh, glad I'm not on duty today." Trevor was an auxiliary fireman, as well as being Pontypandy's bus driver. "Aren't you lucky?" said Sam woefully. Sam hated painting too. Across the road in Bella Lasagna's cafe, Bella was busy preparing for her Saturday lunchtime trade. As she peeled the potatoes, Bella talked to her cat, Rosa.
"Every day I peel the potatoes, I make the chips. These people in Wales, they eat only the chips. I know, eh? What do you think, Rosa?"
Bella looked around for her cat.
"Rosa, where you get to now, puss?"
Bella was looking under the table for Rosa when the doorbell rang. Sam walked into the cafe to see Bella's rear sticking out from under the table. "What are you doing, Bella?" chuckled Sam. "Playing hide and seek?"
"Morning, Sam,"
said Bella as she got to her feet.
I've lost Rosa again.
Oh, she'll turn up, said Sam. You haven't lost my sandwiches, I hope?
They're ready for you.
Replied Bella as she handed them over the counter. Thanks, Bella, said Sam over his shoulder as he made for the door.
Oh, Sam,
called Bella.
if you see Rosa, you send her home for dinner, please.
Will do, replied Sam as he left the cafe. Meanwhile, outside Pontypandy Fire Station, Station Officer Steele was pacing up and down impatiently. Delivery's late, complained Steele as he looked at his watch. Because it's the weekend, I suppose. Now, where's Cridlington? Elvis Cridlington, the junior fireman, was just inside the station garage surrounded by pots and brushes. He was stirring a large pot of red paint when Station Officer Steele poked his head around the doorway and barked, "Fireman Cridlington!"
Yes, sir,
said Cridlington, and jumped to attention. As he did so, he dropped the paint can, spilling the paint all over his boots. "Seems we put our foot in it again, eh, Cridlington?" said Steele angrily.
Yeah, foot in it. Oh, yeah, very good, sir,
replied an embarrassed Cridlington. "Well, take your feet out of the paint and put your brush in and get painting the engine house doors," barked Steele.
Yes, sir,
said Cridlington as he began to clear up the mess. Over at Pontypandy Square, meanwhile, Trevor Evans was driving along when he saw Fireman Sam's nephew and niece, James and Sarah, looking worriedly up at a tree. He popped his horn. The children waved him over. "What's up, kids?" asked Trevor through the window as he pulled in alongside Sarah and James.
Oh, well, we're glad you came, said Sarah anxiously. Bella's cat Rosa is stuck up the tree.
James pointed halfway up the tree to where Rosa's head was just visible through the leaves.
Meow,
cried Rosa.
Have you got a ladder?
asked James. No, I haven't, replied Trevor. Now, let me see. Trevor stroked his chin thoughtfully. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll climb up, my sugar lumps.
It's a long way up, said Sarah.
Leave it to me, replied Trevor confidently, as he climbed onto the roof of the bus. Mustn't be too long, though. There's a match on today. I don't want to be late for the kick-off. Meanwhile, at the fire station, Elvis Cridlington was painting away merrily. He was listening to his Walkman and singing along as he painted.
Paint the door red, that's what he said. Rather do something groovy instead. Do that.
Cridlington! Elvis stopped in his tracks at the sound of Station Officer Steele's voice.
Yes, sir,
stuttered Cridlington. You're supposed to be painting the doors, not the whole station, snapped Steele. Elvis looked around to see that he'd splashed paint on the walls, the floor, and even the windows of the station.
I must have got carried away, sir,
spluttered Elvis. You will get carried away if you don't clean up all this mess, replied Steele sternly. Just then, Fireman Sam arrived. Great fires of London, he chuckled. Looks like an explosion at a ketchup factory. Morning, Sam, said Steele. You're just in time to help Cridlington with the painting.
No, not much paint left, sir, said Elvis.
Oh, that's a shame, said Sam, not too convincingly. Plenty more on the way, Cridlington, said Steele. Won't be long. I'm afraid Station Officer Steele is right, muttered Sam behind his hand to Elvis.
Oh, no,
groaned Elvis. Back at Pontypandy Square, Trevor was on the roof of the bus, trying to grab a branch.
You can do it, Mr. Evans,
called Sarah. Oh, goodness me, said Trevor, nervous as he got a toehold onto the tree. Try that branch. It looks stronger, called James. Then he whispered to Sarah.
I hope it holds his weight.
Well, I don't know, said Trevor, who was getting less confident by the minute. He strained as he tried to lift himself further up the tree. Meow, wailed Rosa, as Trevor inched his way nearer her. Then she suddenly leapt even further up the tree. Oh, drat the cat, moaned Trevor. He looked down at the children. They seemed a long way away. Oh, dear. Oh, it's a long way down. I don't like heights. I feel a bit dizzy like. Oh, the branch creaked and then cracked. Oh, gulped Trevor. Down below, Sarah and James were getting a little nervous.
Oh, perhaps we'd better phone Uncle Sam, said Sarah.
You're right, replied James. They dashed to a nearby telephone box. Station Officer Steele was filing away some papers in his office when the telex machine began chattering. Now who needs the fire station? wondered Steele as he tore the message from the machine. Steele read the message, then made for the engine house. There's a fire at Bella's Cafe. On the double, men. Fireman Sam and Cridlington leapt into action. Sam climbed behind the wheel of Jupiter the fire engine while Elvis manned the doors. All present and correct, sir, said Sam as Steele and Elvis climbed onto the engine. Let's go, replied Steele. Sam started the engine and switched on the siren. Jupiter roared out of the station, its lights flashing as it sped towards Pontypandy. Dilys Price, nosy as ever, couldn't contain her curiosity as she heard the sirens coming towards the shop.
Well, I never, she clucked. I wonder what's on fire.
The engine pulled up outside Bella's Cafe. Sam and the crew got out and opened the shutters, then began setting up their equipment. Come on, men! Jump to it! Commanded Station Officer Steele as they uncoiled hoses and removed extinguishers from the engine. Inside Bella's, the chip pan was aflame on the stove, and Bella was waving her arms around in panic.
Mamma mia! What can I do?
Just then, Sam burst in, followed by Elvis carrying the hose. Not to worry, Bella, said Sam as he made for the sink. We'll soon have this under control. Sam grabbed a cloth and rinsed it under the tap. This is just what I need, a damp cloth. Sam quickly made for the chip pan and expertly placed the damp cloth over the flames. The flames went out with a hiss. Fire out, said Sam.
Oh, Sam, bravissimo, my hero,
cried Bella excitedly. No problem, Bella, said Sam, blushing slightly. All in a day's work. Good work, Fireman Sam, said Steele. Now, go on, let's get the equipment reloaded. Bella saw them to the door. Feeling better now, Bella? asked Sam. Just then, Dilys Price arrived on the scene.
Don't worry, a good cup of tea what she needs,
said Dilys knowingly. Then she muttered to Sam under her breath.
These Italians, so dramatic they are, she should stick to cooking spaghetti. Safer.
Just then, the fire engine's radiophone crackled into life. Elvis dashed to the cab and picked up the handset. Wilco, yeah, Jupiter, 999, over. Elvis listened to the message and replied, Roger, over and out. Station Officer Steele approached the cab. What's up, Cridlington? He asked.
Oh, your message just come through, sir, replied Elvis. The cat answering to the name of Rosa and a man called Trevor up tree in Pontypandy Square.
Dilys interrupted.
Oh, my darling Trevor,
followed by Bella, who put her hands to her face and said,
Oh, mamma mia, my Rosa.
At Pontypandy Square, Trevor was even more stuck than ever. As he hung precariously from a branch, he cried, Somebody do something! I can't go up or down! Rosa was even higher up the tree than before. Don't worry, Mr. Evans, called Sarah. Uncle Sam's on his way, shouted James. Just then they heard Jupiter roaring through Pontypandy. It pulled up behind Trevor's bus, and the crew piled out. Right, men, get to work, barked Steele. Let's get these ladders into place. Better move to one side, kids, said Sam to Sarah and James. Fireman Sam helped Elvis place the ladder against the tree. All right, Trevor. We'll soon get you down, called Steele. Just then, the branch that Trevor was standing on cracked. Oh, the sooner the better, cried Trevor as he flailed about in panic. Put your foot on the ladder, called Sam. Trevor nervously stretched a foot out and then pulled away. Oh, no, I just can't do it, he shouted. Oh, come on, shouted Steele. You'll miss the match, shouted Elvis. Oh, that's all right, replied Trevor. Oh, can't have that, can we? He made a leap for the ladder, missed his footing, and slid all the way down. Oh! Wailed Trevor as he whizzed down until, he landed with a bump on his backside. Look out, called Sam, but he was too late. Steele looked down sternly at Trevor, who was shaken but unhurt. In fact, he looked a comical sight with his hat over his eyes and his legs in the air. Would have expected better from an auxiliary fireman, Evans, eh? Said Steele. Yes, sir, replied Trevor forlornly. Sarah and James held their hands over their mouths to hide their smiles. No harm done, said Sam. Now, how about Rosa? Sam peered up at the branches of the tree. But, that cat, muttered Sam under his breath as he searched around the trees and bushes for her. Oh, well, said Trevor as he patted his clothes back into place. I'm off to the match. Hey, kids, would you like to come? Oh, can we? Oh, great, replied Sarah. Brill, said James. Yeah, we should just about make it, said Trevor, looking at his watch. Steele said, Right, men, make up! Elvis and Sam began replacing the ladders as Trevor and the children jumped into the bus. Rosa must have got down by herself after all that trouble, said Sam. Just then, Trevor revved the bus and accelerated forward. The back doors swung open and the box of tins fell out. Watch out, Trevor, called Sam. Too late. The pots of red paint burst open as they hit the ground, spilling paint all over the road. Inside the bus, Sarah cried, "Oh, the back doors are open, Mr. Evans!" "Oh, Lord!" exclaimed Trevor as he braked sharply and got out of the bus. "Oh, that's torn it," he muttered as he saw the bright red paint all over the road. Sam whispered to Elvis, "Ah, well, no painting today, eh, Elvis?" "Yeah," exclaimed Elvis happily. No. Elvis shuffled his feet nervously as Steele glared at him. "Hose this paint off the road!" barked Steele. "I always wanted to paint the town red," chuckled Sam, but Station Officer Steele wasn't amused. Meanwhile, inside Bella's cafe, Dillis and Bella were having a cup of tea.
"Oh, I hope my Rosa is safe,"
said Bella.
"And my Trevor,"
sniffed Dillis. Just then, Jupiter pulled up outside the cafe.
"Oh, there's a Sam now,"
said Bella. Dillis and Bella both scuttled to the door of the cafe.
"Oh, thank goodness you're back,"
said Bella anxiously.
"Where's my Rosa?"
"I'm afraid we lost her, Bella," replied Sam.
"You no bring her home?" Oh,
wailed Bella. Come on, no, no, said Steele. "I'm sure she'll turn up sooner or later."
"Oh, Mamma Mia,"
cried Bella.
"Oh, she could be a miles away."
Just then, they all heard
A meow.
top of the fire engine, where Rosa's face peered over the edge of the ladders. "Great fires of London!" exclaimed Sam. "She must have jumped onto Jupiter from the tree and hitched a lift home." At that moment, Rosa leapt down into Bella's arms.
"Oh, bellissima!"
sighed Bella as Rosa purred loudly. "Crisis over, men," said Steele. "Let's get back to the station." "Oh, let's hope she doesn't go wandering again," said Sam. Just then, he looked up at Jupiter's bell. "That gives me an idea," he muttered as he climbed aboard. Later that day, Sam returned to Bella's cafe.
"Afternoon, Sam,"
said Bella. "I got a present for you, Bella," said Sam, and he produced a little bell from his pocket.
"What is this for, Sam?"
asked Bella. "You can put it on Rosa's collar, then you know where she is all the time."
"Oh, fantastico!" laughed Bella. "And you deserve a slice of my best cream cake."
Yum, yum, chuckled Sam.
He's always on the scene, Fireman Sam, and his engine's bright and clean. Fireman Sam, you cannot ignore. Sam is the hero next door. When he hears the fire bell chime, Fireman Sam is there on time. Putting on his coat and hat in less than 7 seconds flat. He's always on the scene, Fireman Sam, and his engine's bright and clean. Fireman Sam, you cannot ignore. Sam is the hero next door.
Robot mania. It was Fireman Sam's day off, but judging from the noise coming from his inventing shed, he was busier than ever. Sam's voice could be heard muttering, "Oh, if I could just twiddle the sprocket switch and jiggle the crank housing, it should be all set." Meanwhile, Sam's niece and nephew, Sarah and James, were on their way to visit him. Sarah was licking an ice lolly, while James was playing with his remote-control car. As they entered Sam's garden, they were confronted with lots of odd bits of machinery. "Oh, I wonder what all these bits of metal are for," said James curiously. Just then, Sam came out of his shed. "Hi, kids," he said. "What are you inventing, Uncle Sam?" asked Sarah. Sam produced a newspaper and pointed to an entry form in one of the pages. He produced a pair of scissors and cut out the form. "It's a competition for Wales' best inventor. There's lots of prizes to be won." "Oh, that's exciting," said James. "Great," said Sarah. Sam pinned the entry form to his shed. "All I have to do is decide which invention to enter," said Sam, looking around his garden. "What's that, Uncle Sam?" asked Sarah, pointing to a strange-looking skateboard with a little engine on the back. "It's my motorized skateboard," exclaimed Sam. "Brill," said James. "Trouble is, I haven't quite perfected it yet." James was disappointed, because he was dying to have a go. "How about this?" asked Sam as he pointed to a strange contraption. "What is it?" asked Sarah. "It's an automatic waste disposal unit," said Sam triumphantly. "I call it Scoffer." It was a strange-looking contraption indeed. It looked like a dustbin on wheels with 4 metal arms and a row of metal teeth. Down its side was a set of lights and buttons and switches. Sam then began ripping up the newspaper into small pieces and scattered them all over the garden. "Oh, what a mess," said Sarah. "Not to worry," replied Sam as he went to his invention and pressed button A. The waste disposal unit burst into life. The metal arms produced a dustpan and brush from inside its bin and scuttled around the garden, sweeping up the bits of paper and throwing them into its mouth. The big metal teeth gnashed away as the lights flashed. "Oh, that's tremendous, Uncle Sam," cried Sarah incredulously. "You're bound to win," chuckled James. "It's fantastic." "You're probably right," grinned Sam proudly. Soon the bits of paper were all cleared up, but Scoffer hadn't finished. Arms flailing, it began clearing up everything in sight. Sarah was still licking a lolly when Scoffer made straight for her. "Watch out!" called Sam. "It's out of control!" But he was too late, because Scoffer had swept Sarah's lolly out of her hands and into its mouth. "Why, you greedy thing!" cried startled Sarah. Sam dashed after Scoffer and pressed the off button. "Whew, I think it needs a few adjustments before it's quite ready," gulped Sam. "What will you enter then?" asked James, while he watched his remote control car whizzing around the garden as he pressed the handset. Muttered Sam, stroking his chin. "Your remote control car gives me an idea." Sam got his toolkit out from the shed. "I'll need to go to the fire station for this one, though." "Can we come?" asked James. "Oh, of course," replied Sam, as they all left the garden. Meanwhile, at Dilys Price's store, her naughty son Norman was standing on a chair trying to reach a jar of gobstoppers. The chair was wobbling slightly. Oh, nearly there," puffed Norman as he stretched as far as he could. Dilys, meanwhile, was in the next room ironing. "I don't know," she clucked. "As soon as I finish one pile of ironing, there's another waiting." Just then, Norman's chair toppled and he fell to the floor with a crash as he landed on his backside. "Wow!" he wailed. Dilys jumped as she heard the noise. "Norman! What are you up to now?" "Me, ma'am? Nothing," replied Norman innocently as Dilys scuttled in. "I'll give you nothing. You go find yourself something to do, or I'll find something for you." "Oh, ma'am," moaned Norman. "Scram!" screeched Dilys. Yes, ma'am," said Norman as he dashed out of the shop, but not before he grabbed a bar of chocolate from the counter. Up at Pontypandy Fire Station, Fireman Sam was tinkering away under the bonnet of Jupiter, the fire engine. The twins looked on in anticipation. "Won't be long now, kids," said Sam as he finished tightening a bolt. "I wonder what he's doing," said Sarah to James. Just then, Elvis Cridlington strolled over to the engine, wearing his apron and carrying a saucepan. "Hello. What are you up to, Sam?" asked Elvis. Startled, Sam lifted his head up suddenly and bumped it against the bonnet. Sam rubbed his head as he answered Elvis patiently. "Well, there's an invention competition, and I'm trying to invent something unusual." How about inventing something to help a poor overworked cook?" asked Elvis. "Oh, problems with the food again, Elvis," chuckled Sam. Elvis turned the saucepan upside down and patted it hard. The burnt mashed potato wouldn't budge. "Yes, well, perhaps you could invent a cooker that could cook perfect food every time," said Elvis woefully. "That sounds just like you, Elvis," said Sam dryly. Ta, Sam," said Elvis brightly as he confidently marched back to the kitchen. Sam winked at the two kids, who giggled. Meanwhile, Norman was peering over Fireman Sam's garden fence. He spotted the automatic skateboard, and his eyes lit up. "Oh, I must have a go at that," exclaimed Norman as he made for the gate. Looking around to see that the coast was clear, he dashed into the garden. "Oh, a skateboard with an engine! Great!" he cried. Norman jumped onto the skateboard and held the cable that the joystick was attached to. "And now for the greatest skateboarder in the world," announced Norman grandly. "Norman Price." With that, he switched it on and zoomed into action. "Whee!" cried Norman as he whizzed around the garden. "Pontypandy's finest skateboarder displays the greatest skill the world's ever seen." then, just at that moment, he lost control of the board. It roared around in circles, faster and faster. Whoa! I feel so dizzy, wailed Norman. Somebody stop it! Oh, the skateboard suddenly crashed into Scoffer, sending Norman flying. Whoa! He cried as he landed in a bush. The skateboard had, however, hit the on button of Scoffer, and the automatic waste disposal unit burst into life. Oh, no, keep away, shouted Norman as Scoffer, arms flailing and teeth gnashing, whizzed towards him. Norman dashed out of the gate, followed by Scoffer. Meanwhile, Norman's mum, Dilys, was still ironing.
If it's not socks, it's shirts, and if it's not shirts, it's sweaters,
she was moaning to herself, when she heard lots of crashing and banging coming from outside the shop.
What on earth's going on?
She cried.
Help, ma'am, help!
She heard as she dashed into the street.
Oh, my word!
Wailed Dilys as she came across Scoffer, which was sweeping fruit and veg into its dustpan and throwing them into its mouth.
A creature from outer space is eating my lovely fruit and veg.
Scoffer, bleeping away, made for Bella's cafe across the square.
Come back with my tomatoes!
Cried Dilys as she dashed after it, forgetting that she'd left the hot iron on Norman's shirt. By now, it had begun to smoulder. Meanwhile, at the fire station, Fireman Sam had adapted Jupiter, the fire engine, for remote control. He held James's handset. Now, if my calculations are correct, we should have a fully remote-controlled fire engine, said Sam, as he prepared to put Jupiter through its paces. Ready? Asked Sam. Yeah, replied the twins. Sam said, Shutters, open, sesame, as he pressed a button on the handset. The shutters duly slid open.
Oh, way!
Cried James. Oh, do something else, Uncle Sam, called Sarah. Lights, said Sam as he pressed another button. The headlights flashed on and off, followed by the blue light on the top of the cab. Oh, you're bound to win the competition now, giggled Sarah, clapping her hands in glee. Now let's see if I can drive it, chuckled Sam as he pressed the appropriate button. Jupiter sped off. It works, said Sam as he directed the engine left and right. I better slow it down now, he said, pressing another button. But nothing happened. Oh, no! Oh, no! Cried Sam. Oh, I can't stop it! Jupiter was now heading straight for the fire station. Sam furiously pressed all the buttons until the handset blew up. Jupiter pulled up just in time. Phew, sighed Sam as the handset smouldered. Oh, I think I'll have to invent something a bit safer. Meanwhile, at Bella's cafe, Scoffer, the invention, is being shooed out of the cafe by Bella.
Shoo! Take cosa? What do? You break my cups and saucers, you eat my food, go away, shoo!
Dilys and Norman were in the street looking on.
Got a mind of its own, that thing,
clucked Dilys as she patted her curlers in indignation. Just then, Bella spotted smoke coming from Dilys' shop.
Mrs. Price, your house is on fire. Oh, my!
Wailed Dilys in panic.
Don't worry, I call the fire service,
said Bella as she dashed back into the cafe. At the station, Steele ripped the message from the telex machine and rang the alarm bell. Elvis and Sam made for the fire engine, followed by Station Officer Steele, who shouted, Fire at Dilys Price's shop! Jump to it! Stand back, kids, called Sam as he clambered into the cab. Soon they were speeding out of the station, lights flashing and sirens blaring. Bella, meanwhile, had found the off button on Scoffer and finally deactivated it. Dilys was beside herself with worry by the time the fire engine had roared into view.
Oh, thank goodness,
she wailed as the engine pulled up and the crew clambered down. Don't worry, reassured Sam. We'll have it under control in no time.
Oh, I must have left the iron on,
said Dilys. Elvis opened the shutter on the side of Jupiter. Carbon dioxide extinguisher is what we want, barked Steele. And breathing apparatus, said Sam. Yes, of course. Yeah, breathing apparatus, quite right, replied Steele. Sam and Elvis put on the breathing apparatus before dashing into the shop through the smoky doorway, while Steele comforted Dilys. Inside the shop, Sam and Elvis quickly made for the scene of the fire. Once they were in the next room, Elvis unplugged the iron while Sam sprayed the shirt, which was blazing away. Soon the foam had the fire out. There's nothing to worry about now, said Sam to Elvis. When he got to the doorway of the shop, Sam held out what was left of the shirt. Don't think you'll need to wash this again, Dilys, he chuckled.
Oh, and that was my lovely Norman's best shirt, she wailed.
You must remember never to leave your iron on, said Steele sternly to Dilys. It could have been a lot worse. It wasn't my fault, sniffed Dilys, folding her arms in indignation.
If it wasn't for that monster stealing my fruit and veg, none of this would have happened.
Monster? asked Steele, looking around. Then, spotting Scoffer, said, What on earth is that? It's my waste disposal invention, said Sam. But how on earth did it get here? Sam looked at Norman suspiciously. Norman shuffled his feet and coughed. It was an accident, see?
Norman!
Screeched Dilys, making for him. He must have pressed this button here, said Sam mischievously as he turned Scoffer on. Bleeping away, Scoffer burst into life again, lights flashing, arms flailing, as it made straight for Norman.
Yike!
Cried Norman, as he dashed towards the park, followed closely by the speedy Scoffer. Running left and right as fast as he could, Norman couldn't shake off the contraption. In fact, he was so busy looking over his shoulder, he didn't notice the fountain wall in front of him. Oh! He wailed as he tripped over it and landed in the water with a splash. He spluttered. Back in the square, everybody laughed as they heard the loud splash.
Oh, my poor Norman!
Cried Dilys. Oh, I wouldn't worry, laughed Sam. It's only about 6 inches deep. Minutes later, Norman staggered into view, dripping wet and leaving wet footprints behind him. That should dampen his spirits a little, chuckled Steele. Oh, I better go and deactivate my invention before it causes any more trouble, said Sam as he made for the park. Soon he caught up with Scoffer. He switched it off and carried it back home, saying, I think I'd better invent something safer for the competition. The next day, Sarah and James were on their way to school when they decided to call on their Uncle Sam. As they entered his garden, they came across Sam proudly standing next to a machine that looked like a huge fire extinguisher on wheels, with hoses, valves, taps, and dials all over it. Hello, you two, said Sam. How do you like it? What is it? Asked Sarah. Sam pressed a switch, and the machine began firing jets of water and foam everywhere. A mobile robotic firefighter, exclaimed Sam. It can go into blazing buildings for me. Brill, said James. I bet that wins the competition. Sarah, meanwhile, was studying the entry form still pinned to the shed door. There's only one problem, Uncle Sam, said Sarah worriedly. No, there's no problem with this invention, exclaimed Sam. It's thoroughly tested. Sarah handed Sam the form. The problem is, she went on, the competition was a week ago. Sam held his head and groaned. Oh, no, after all that trouble.
He's always on the scene, Fireman Sam, and his engine's bright and clean. Fireman Sam, you cannot ignore. Sam is the hero next door. When he hears the fire bell chime, Fireman Sam is there on time. Putting on his coat and hat in less than 7 seconds flat. He's always on the scene, Fireman Sam, and his engine's bright and clean. Fireman Sam, you cannot ignore. Sam is the hero next door.
Brass Band. It was a very hot summer's day in Pontypandy. Fireman Sam's niece, Sarah, and nephew, James, were heading for Sam's house. Sarah was lagging behind because she was examining a spider through her new magnifying glass. Come on, Sarah, called James. Let's see what Uncle Sam's up to today. Oh, cried Sarah. This spider seems like a giant monster through the magnifying glass. Inside Sam's backyard, Sam had invented a strange contraption. That's it, cried Sam triumphantly, as he finished screwing the last piece of metal in place. Just then the twins arrived. Hello, you two, said Sam. What on earth is that? Asked Sarah, as the children stared at the contraption, which had bits of vacuum cleaners, drums, and a trumpet attached to bellows. It's my automated, self-powered, sprocket-driven one-man band, explained Sam proudly. Pontypandy Fire Station is having a brass band concert in the park on Sunday, so I thought I'd invent an automatic brass band, in case we get called out to a fire halfway through the performance. Sarah and James stepped closer. I'll just give it a trial run, said Sam, as he pressed the vacuum cleaner button. The contraption burst into life. Metal arms banged the drums, Cymbals clashed, and the trumpet blew. Laughed Sam. Not bad at all. Just needs a bit of tuning. Just a bit, whispered James to Sarah, who couldn't hear because she had her fingers in her ears. Suddenly the invention got faster and faster, and louder and louder. "Oh, no!" cried Sam. "Oh, it's gone into overdrive." Just then the machine collapsed into an untuneful heap. "Oh, well, back to the drawing board," sighed Sam. "I better clear off to the station as soon as I've tidied up this lot." Sam handed the children some money. "I don't suppose you fancy an ice cream on a hot day like this?" chuckled Sam. "Oh, but have one on me anyway." "Great!" cried Sarah. "Brill!" said James, as they dashed off to Bella. Later, outside Mrs. Price's shop, Dilys Price was talking to her son, Norman.
What have you got there?
She asked. "It's my new telescope," said Norman. "Would you like a go?" Dilys peered through it.
My, I didn't know Mrs. Morgan had new curtains. And I'll be... Oh, Mrs. Jones has painted her bathroom green,
clucked Dilys, who was the nosiest person in Pontypandy.
Well, I never, she went on. Oh, look at Mr. Evans. Oh, yes, very interesting, Norman, she said, handing it back. Oh, I don't want people thinking I'm nosy. Anyway, I got work to do.
Dilys didn't realize that it was a trick telescope that had boot polish on the end that she'd look through. Norman chuckled quietly at the black ring around his mother's eye. Just as Dilys went into the shop, Sam came round the corner carrying his trumpet case. "Morning, Norman," said Sam. "You should be in the park on a hot day like this."
"Would you like a go at my telescope?"
asked Norman mischievously. Sam peered through it in the general direction of the fire station.
My, I can see Jupiter, said Sam. "But that's millions of miles away," replied Norman.
"No, it's not," said Sam. "Jupiter the fire engine is in the fire station." Sam chuckled at his joke as he handed back the telescope to Norman and headed into the shop, not realizing that now he had a black eye too. Norman giggled. Inside the shop, Sam was about to ask for a newspaper when he spotted Mrs. Price's black eye. Dilys spotted Sam's at the same time. "Oh, my, what a lovely shiner," they both said together.
"No, you got a black eye," said Dilys.
"No, you got one," replied Sam. They both put their fingers to their eyes and then examined their fingers, which were covered in boot polish. "We've been had," said Sam.
"Oh, that boy of mine, Norman!"
she screeched, but Norman had dashed off, chuckling, "What a great trick!" Sam wiped his eye clean with a hanky as he walked across the road to Bella's. Inside, the twins were eating a huge ice cream as Sam walked in. "Oh, they look tasty," said Sam. "Morning, Bella," he said. "I hope to see you at the park on Sunday to hear Pontypandy's finest brass band."
"What is it you play, Sam?"
asked Bella. Sam lifted his trumpet case. "The trumpet, of course," he said grandly. "You'll have to go a long way to hear a trumpet played like mine," said Sam.
"Yes," said Bella dryly. "It sounded like you certainly know how to blow your own trumpet, Sam."
The children giggled as Sam coughed. "Yes, well, can I have my usual cheese and chutney sandwiches, please, Bella? I got a rehearsal to go to." Bella wrapped up Sam's sandwiches and handed them over. "What are you up to today?" said Sam to the twins. "We're going apple picking," replied James, as Sarah examined his nose with a magnifying glass. "Oh, what a giant hooter!" she giggled. "Have fun," called Sam as he left the cafe. Outside the cafe, Trevor pulled his bus alongside Sam. "Morning, Trevor," said Sam. "You going to the band practice?" "Yes," replied Trevor, who was an auxiliary fireman as well as a bus driver. "Hop in. I'll give you a lift to the station." Sam climbed in and off they went. Later, James and Sarah were on their way to the countryside. As they neared the fire station, a deafening din came from inside. As the tuneless screeching, bonging and banging got louder, they held their ears. "Oh, it sounds like they really need to practice," said James. "I know what Uncle Sam means about having to go a long way to hear a trumpet played like his," chuckled Sarah as they hurried out of earshot. Inside the station house, Station Officer Steele was standing on a box in front of the crew, who were all holding their musical instruments. Sam had his trumpet, Elvis a trombone, and Trevor had a large drum strapped to his chest. "Right, men," barked Steele, tapping the music sheet with his baton. "1, 2, 3,
At that moment, instead of playing the instruments, the crew burst out laughing. "Hold it! Hold it!" shouted Steele. "What's so funny?" Steele didn't realise he had a big black ring around his eye. Nothing, sir," coughed Sam, realising that Norman had been up to his tricks again. In that case," said Steele sternly, "let's get on with it. 1, 2, 3. As he tapped the baton for the second time, the crew began playing, or at least trying to. Elvis began too enthusiastically and poked the trombone through Trevor's bass drum with a brrrr, followed by a loud ripping noise. "Now look what you've done!" cried Trevor. "How can I play it now?"
Sorry, Trevor," stammered Elvis. I got carried away."
Hold it! Hold it! Interrupted Steele, tapping his baton. "You can play the cymbals instead." Trevor went to get the big shiny cymbals and stood up at the back, arms outstretched ready. "These are even louder than my drum," chuckled Trevor, anxious to get started. "So, all ready?" asked Steele. "When I point my baton at you, Sam, stand up for your solo. And when I point at you, Evans, you clash your cymbals." "Righto, sir," he replied. "Ready? 1, 2, 3. Steele pointed the baton in the general direction of Sam and Evans. Sam stood up quickly, poised to play his trumpet, and at that very moment, Trevor, who thought it was his cue, clashed the cymbals around Sam's ears. "Oh!" cried Sam. "Oh, sorry, Sam," said Trevor. Steele just held his head. Meanwhile, Sarah and James were walking across Pandy Farm.
"Phew! Oh, it's warm,"
said Sarah.
"Look at those juicy big apples,"
said James, pointing at the nearby trees. "Come on!" he cried as they dashed towards them. Sarah didn't notice that her magnifying glass had fallen out of her pocket onto the grass. Sarah and James began climbing a large apple tree.
"Be careful,"
called James to Sarah.
"Ha! I can climb better than you,"
she replied.
"Last one to get an apple's a sissy,"
laughed James. Soon they reached the apples and began picking them and stuffing them in their pockets. They hadn't noticed that the sun had streamed through Sarah's magnifying glass, and the heat had made the grass smoulder. Soon flames flickered on the dry grass. The twins, meanwhile, their pockets stuffed with apples, climbed back down the tree.
"Look!"
cried Sarah, pointing to the field.
"The grass has caught alight."
The flames had begun to spread across the bone-dry grass.
"We better phone the fire station,"
cried James, and they ran to a phone box. At that moment in the fire station, Steele was on the verge of tearing his hair out. "No! No! No!" he barked. "You sound like a cat choir! One more time, otherwise we'll never be ready for Sunday." He tapped his baton. 1, 2, 3. As he tapped his baton for the third time, the fire alarm went off. "Right, men," he commanded. "Let's get to it." "Anything is better than band practice," muttered Sam under his breath. Steele ripped the paper from the telex machine. "There's a grass fire at Pandy Farm," he shouted, as they all made for the fire engine. Soon they were roaring through Pontypandy, sirens blaring and lights flashing. Sarah and James, meanwhile, had noticed a rack of fire beaters made from twigs in the corner of the field.
"Perhaps we could try and put the fire out ourselves," said James. "It's too dangerous," replied Sarah. "We'd better leave it to Uncle Sam."
Just then they heard Jupiter's siren.
"Oh, thank goodness," said Sarah. "The fire's beginning to spread."
Sam drove the engine across the field. "Stand back, you two," said Sam to the twins, as the crew climbed down and made for the beaters. Soon Sam and the crew were beating furiously until they had the fire under control. "That should do it," said Sam.
"Oh, it's a bit smoky,"
coughed Elvis. "I think we better hose down the area," said Steele. "You can't be too careful when the grass is as dry as this." Elvis and Sam gave the area a good dousing down with the hoses. They even let Sarah and James help. "Good work, Matt," said Steele. "Make up, and we can be off." As they rolled the hoses up, Sam spotted Sarah's magnifying glass. "Aha! Oh, so that's what caused the fire to start."
"Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle Sam. It must have fallen out of my pocket,"
said Sarah. "Oh, accidents can happen," said Sam. "It just goes to show how careful you must be." Sarah and James had a lift back to Pontypandy and Jupiter.
"Oh, I'm famished,"
moaned Elvis as they drove.
All that work has given me an appetite."
Sarah and James produced their apples.
"Oh, great!"
cried Elvis, and soon they were all munching away. Sunday finally arrived. It was a lovely warm day for the brass band to perform. Everybody in Pontypandy turned out. Bella had brought along ice cream and lemonade for everyone, which was set out on a table with a pink tablecloth. There were 2 lines of striped deck chairs for the audience, placed in front of the bandstand. The band was setting up their instruments. The audience were helping themselves to ice cream and lemonade before settling into their seats.
It's so exciting, said Bella. Just to think, Isa Ponte Band is a very own brassa band. As long as they don't play any modern rubbish,
Sniffed Dilys Price.
Anyway, I can't stay too long. I gotta cook lunch for my lovely little Norman. Come to think about it, where is Norman?
Norman, mischievous as ever, had spotted that the firemen had left their helmets upside down by their feet. He sneaked over to the bandstand, and while Fireman Sam was studying his sheet music, he plopped a big dollop of ice cream into Sam's upturned helmet. Chuckled Norman.
He'll get a surprise when he puts it on.
The band began tuning their instruments. Station Officer Steele stepped up to his music sheet stand. "Right, men. Today I want the best performance of your lives," Steele commanded. Then, under his breath, "Shouldn't be difficult to improve on what I've heard so far." With that, he took out a wad of cotton wool and stuffed. The audience had settled down, and there was an air of excitement as Station Officer Steele tapped the button. 1, 2, 3. At that very moment, a huge clap of thunder boomed through the sky. Next, the heavens opened, and it began pouring with rain.
Oh, cara mia,
cried Bella.
I don't want to get my new dress soaked.
"Oh, let's take shelter," screeched Dilys. Soon, the whole audience dived for the bandstand. Within minutes, everybody was squashed together, the band, the audience, and their instruments. "Oh, looks like that's the end of our performance." "Well, that's a blessed relief," muttered Steele under his breath.
What about me?
Wailed Norman, who was unable to get onto the bandstand for people.
I'll get soaked.
"Here you are," said Sam. "This'll keep you dry." And he handed Norman his helmet. Norman, forgetting about the ice cream, put it on, and the ice cream ran down his face. "Oh, ew, oh," he spluttered. Everybody laughed. "Serves him right," chuckled Sam.
He's always on